Welcome back to another soul-tugging, truth-sipping episode of Elaborations with Skellington Grin. I'm Ava, your favorite whimsy goth wisdom witch, your cozy chaos big sister, your guide in the halls of self-discovery where the candles and incense are always lit and the tea is always steeped in honesty with a little honey for sweetness. Today, I want to talk to you about something that's been whispering at the edges of my awareness. It is something that I've felt in my bones, and I know that if you are listening to this podcast, you have probably felt it too, especially in those quiet moments when you start wondering the following. Why do I talk to myself the way that I do? And if I am being cruel to myself, who taught me to be so cruel inside my own head? So here is the big question that we are sitting with today, and we are unpacking it, holding it like a tarot card flipped over in a self-discovery reading. Whose voice are you actually listening to? Because when the noise gets loud and your mind is racing with doubts, criticisms, insecurities, and pressure, the voice that you're listening to, the voice that you're hearing in the back of your mind, that little nagging, niggling voice, often isn't you. It is not your higher self. It is not your soul. It is not even your spirit team, but it is an echo. And 9 times out of 10, it is someone else's script. It is a recycled spell that you didn't cast, but that was placed upon you. It is someone else's narrative that you didn't consent to. And today, we are going to peel back those layers and trace it back. And we are going to ask whose voices got so wrapped up around our inner monologue like ivy, twisting, choking, making us believe that we were less than holy and less than worthy. So, grab your tea, your smoke cleanse, your journal, or just show up today as your beautiful self carrying curiosity. Without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. So let's start by going back to where the noise began. See, most of us never consciously choose the voice that we hear in our heads. And the origins of this inner critic arrive slowly, quietly, like fog rolling in. It could be a parent's sigh when you expressed too much, or a teacher's red pen scolding your creativity, a boss that implies that your value was tied to your productivity, or a friend who told you that you're just too sensitive. And over time, we started to not just hear those things, we began to repeat them internally, unconsciously, and eventually out loud too, in times of self-doubt expressed to others, or in times of self-deprecating humor that we have adopted in order to mask our pain. We began narrating our lives through other people's opinions, adopting them into our beliefs and forming our self-concepts around them. Things such as, you're too emotional and sensitive turned into, my emotions are invalid and I need to be more thick-skinned. You're not working hard enough became, I'm not working hard enough or doing something useful. You shouldn't want too much was transmuted into, I'm too needy and entitled. You need to be more professional, more polite, more grateful, more accommodating, and more productive, turned into, I'm not able to be taken seriously as my authentic self. And I shouldn't even want to rest. You will never be successful if you don't hustle harder, became the inner monologue that said, I don't deserve to rest because rest is laziness. Some of those voices sound like authority, and others sound like care. But if you really listen closely, none of those voices sound like truth. They sound like fear wearing someone else's clothes. I want to bring up a quote that I love going back to whenever I also need the leg up. Rhonda Byrne, the author of the popular Law of Attraction book, The Secret, reminds us that your power is in your thoughts. So stay aware. In other words, remember to remember. But just how do you remember to remember? If your whole life has trained you to forget who you are, to forget your softness, to forget your intuition, to forget your divinity, this is where it starts. By noticing and becoming more self-aware. By becoming aware of the habits and patterns. By realizing that not every thought deserves a throne. So how do we get to the difference between ourselves and the static? And how do we know what is ours and what has been programmed into us? Here is a simple place to begin. When you hear something inside your head, when you hear a thought going off in your head, ask yourself, does this voice make me feel expansive or does it make me shrink? Because I'll be honest with you, your higher self, your soul, who you actually are, that person doesn't scold you or say that you should be farther along. Your higher self reminds you that you are already worthy, and they let you know that you can choose a new way. The critical voice, though, is performative, and it says, keep pushing or you'll fall behind. Fix this about yourself or you'll be unlovable. Hide this or people will think that you are weak. And that voice is usually inherited. It is hand-me-down shame from people who don't know how to honor their own worth. So they projected their pain onto you. Another quote that I really love is from Eckhart Tolle, who is known for his books, The Power of Now, A New Earth, and Stillness Speaks. And he says, the voice in the head has a life of its own, and most people are at the mercy of that voice. But if you are tuning into this podcast, you already know that you are not most people. You are awake. You are curious. And more importantly, you are willing to sift through the static and find the voice that belongs to you. And that, right there, that decision and that awareness is the beginning of liberation. So let's talk about unlearning and returning. Abraham Hicks gives us a key when they say a belief is just a thought that you keep thinking, which means every belief can be questioned and reprogrammed. Every narrative can be rewritten. Every spell can be recast. You don't have to believe for the rest of your life that your value is tied to your labor. You do not have to carry the belief that love must be earned. And you certainly don't have to believe that success means sacrifice or that softness is weakness. But to rewrite those beliefs, you do have to listen differently. You have to be willing to ask yourself, who told me this and who taught me this? Who benefits from me believing this about myself? And the most important question, do I actually agree with this? Or have I just never questioned it? And maybe, just maybe, you will begin to speak back, not with anger, but with clarity. You will say, I hear you, fear. I know that you tried to keep me safe, but I don't need you running the show anymore. I am safe to think differently now, and I trust myself more than I trust the shame that I inherited. This is what it truly means to reclaim your inner voice. Because when you reclaim that inner voice, you become the narrator of your life rather than allowing the echo of someone else's fears to narrate your life and dictate your choices. Because here is the sauce. You can choose, and you do choose every single day. So, to close out today's episode, I want to leave you with a little affirmation spell, a challenge, and a journal prompt. So here is your little trinity of magic to carry you into the rest of your day or your week. Whenever you feel the urge or the want to sit down and do this, I leave you with this little trinity of magic. The journal prompt is this. I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions. What beliefs am I holding about myself that I never consciously chose? Whose voices do they sound like? And what do I want to believe instead? Those are 3 questions. And I want you to space them out as you wish to be able to answer them. And sit with that. Just sit with that. And allow yourself to feel whatever might come up. You can even meditate before you do the journal prompt. You can meditate on each individual question and just feel into your body and feel into your thought process. What is coming up for you? The challenge for the next 7 days, every time a critical or self-doubting thought comes up, I want you to pause and I want you to ask yourself, whose voice is that? And then you can either say out loud or to yourself, I release what is not mine and I return to myself. And as you do this, feel free to put one hand over your heart and one over your stomach. And allow yourself to breathe deeply. And just breathe. And repeat that like a mantra. You don't have to do it for any set length of time, just whatever you feel comfortable doing. And the affirmation that I want to leave you with is this. I trust the voice of my soul. I trust the voice of my soul. I am no longer ruled by inherited fear. I am no longer ruled by inherited fear. I speak to myself with reverence, with clarity, and with love. I speak to myself with reverence, with clarity, and with love. And I return to the truth of who I am. I return to the truth of who I am. Thank you again for joining me in this space where healing meets honesty and where your voice is always welcome. If this resonated with you, you already know what to do. Share it with someone who may benefit from it. Tag me on Instagram at Skellington Grin Creatrix. I will post the link or the username in the description. Drop a comment or simply light a candle for yourself and just whisper your name back into the world with pride. Until next time, this has been Elaborations with Skellington Grin. Stay soft, stay sovereign, stay strange, and stay strong.